Rosemary. Welcome back to my channel. Today I wanted to take a different approach to this video and just have a little chat with you. I wanted to talk today about what I'm doing to change my life, to hit that reset button and change the way I look at 2023 as a self-employed musician. This is my first year where I can confidently say that I am a full-time artist. I can actually map out what my year is going to look like for at least the next 6 to 7 months. And I know where all of that money is coming from. I can map out my finances. So I think it's a perfect time to look back on what has worked and what hasn't worked and what I want my life to look like as a full-time artist. So the first thing I'm going to do is I've picked a word that is going to be my theme word for the year. This word that I can look back on and really see, are the choices that I'm making really serving me? And so the word that I've chosen is balance. Balance in my mind, my body, and my life. And I highly recommend that you think of a word that you want to focus on this year. There's lots of wonderful words that are things that can really benefit us in the long run. So my question for you, and something that you can write in the comments, is what word do you want to focus on this year? So I have this video divided into themes, as I usually do. My themes today focus on the word value, and I'm going to break it up into 3 segments. I want to talk about how we value our time as artists, our art, and our health. Here's a little disclaimer too. I am not a parent, so this conversation might not service you because your lives look different. I have no dependents, which makes it a lot more possible for me to do what I'm doing, and I really respect what parents do. I think this conversation will work really well for self-employed artists and people who are private teachers, who teach in the evenings, things like that. So time is the first concept that I'm going to talk about today, but I think it's probably the most important and will follow through the entire video. I think that I, as an artist, looked at my life through dollar signs. So I really don't think that I was serving myself in the past. At one point, I was working as a teacher in a replacement position full-time. Then I was also doing my master's degree. I was doing a course for my master's. I was also doing a contract for Come From Away. We were doing a program called Covers From Away. So I was on the phone multiple times a week with the writers of Come From Away, and I was recording, rearranging, writing, and just trying to seek approval all the time for that project, which was amazing. It was great pay, but it was also really stressful. I was also doing my album, and I was getting ready to release my album of all original music, and I was trying to coordinate all the social media and the promotion for that and get ready for a concert and do rehearsals. So I was working basically 4 jobs at that moment, and I can tell you with confidence that I did not enjoy any of it. It was all these exciting things, some big moments in my life, and I couldn't enjoy it. And it was a moment when I realized something's got to give. And after I finished that, I swore I would never allow that to happen again. I was so burnt out, and it took a long time to get back on my feet after that. Burnout is no joke, and I want to focus this year on not burning out. So I want to focus on time, because I realized that I did not value my time. If my time did not have a dollar sign attached to it, then I didn't respect it. And that's not fair, because as an artist, a lot of the work you do is for free. And if you don't do it, you don't get hired. So it matters that you put in that time. So one of the things I want to talk about today is finances. So what I started doing this year was giving myself an hourly wage from the contracts I was doing. So for instance, you do a show, and the show pays $300. I'm just making up numbers here, but say the show pays $300. And for a long time, I'd be like, oh, that's just an odd $300 that I'm making for that one thing that I did that weekend. But you don't realize how much work you're putting into it beforehand. I started taking, say it pays $300. Okay, how many hours is the actual show? Okay, how many hours did it take to put into that show? And then I just divided the income. So say I make $20 an hour, $50 an hour, whatever it is. Value your time. Understand that a rehearsal in the evening counts as income. The rehearsal that you put in the middle of the day practicing for that show counts as income. It all matters. It's another really important thing too, to see your value in your time. So on the reverse end of that, I was doing a show. I was getting ready with this band. I was working really, really hard. We were rehearsing twice a week. We were putting in about 3 hours a night, maybe 4, twice a week for months. And it was a lot of work. And I was stressed. I wasn't really enjoying it. It was getting really frustrating. Then we got to the shows. We did this tour. The tour shows paid about $300 a show. And so for a tour, that sounds pretty good. You know, my food I had to pay for, but my rooms I didn't have to pay for, my gas I didn't have to pay for. So a lot of it was good. But I looked back on all the time that I had invested throughout the process of getting ready for these shows, and I realized that I only made about $6 an hour. That was a moment when I realized this is not serving me. This is not healthy for me, and I can't continue doing this. So I stopped. I respectfully backed out of that group. And to be fair, you know, I just said I was too busy. I just couldn't manage all of the rehearsals, and I couldn't commit to this group, and so I backed out. And that's totally okay. You have to understand your limitations. And I understand, like, if you're in a band and you're super passionate about this band and it's growing and you have to put in all this time for free and all these rehearsals to make that band sound as good as you possibly can, and if you're super invested and you're super excited, then that work for free matters and has value. But if you are really slogging at this, you're not having fun, you're not enjoying the situation that you're in, and it's not paying super great, then maybe you need to think about, is this serving me? Is this worth it? And that's sort of where the value of time worked in another way. I also want to talk about the day-to-day schedule of a musician. As artists, our days are backwards. So I'm working in the afternoons and the evenings, and I don't have a 9 to 5. So waking up at 7 a.m. doesn't make sense. I want to talk about the idea of sleeping in. I think a lot of times people just assume that if you're sleeping to 11, you're sleeping in. But if you're getting 8 hours sleep, is it sleeping in, or is it just getting the amount of sleep that you need? A lot of people who work night shifts, you know, people who work in dockyards, hospitals, coast guards, they work evening shifts. They work the night shift, and when they get home, they sleep during the day. So as an artist, if you're working till 2 o'clock in the morning, you don't get to bed till 3 or 4. Are you expected to wake up at 7? Is that a reasonable thing? No. Get that sleep. Take out the word sleeping in. Let's reframe that, because when we think about the word sleeping in, we're thinking about being lazy. We're thinking about treating yourself. Oh, I'm going to be a little bit lazy today and I'm going to sleep in on a Saturday. No, as an artist, it doesn't work that way. Respect your time. Respect that you're working a night shift and you need that sleep. It is okay to sleep until 11 or 12 o'clock in the day, especially if that was your 8 or 9 hours that you needed to function. Because if you're trying to do that gig and then you're trying to wake up and go to the gym and do all the things at 6 a.m. and you're functioning off of 3-4 hours sleep, you're going to get sick. You're going to burn out. So these are really important things to consider when we're talking about planning our day. So how I've decided to structure my day this year is different than what I've done in the past, because before I was a teacher as well, I was waking up with functioning off of very little sleep. I started dozing off while I was driving. It got really sketchy. I was finishing work at like 3-4 o'clock in the afternoon, and then I was coming home, I was teaching privately, I was getting ready for rehearsals, I was trying to fit in practice time, I was doing rehearsals in the evening, and I had no time to sleep, and I had no time to take a break, just watch TV, sit on the couch, and I started to get really sick, and it's not sustainable. So now as a full-time musician, what I'm doing is I'm structuring my day in a new way. People who work 9 to 5s, they get home at 5 o'clock, they make their supper, and then there's like 2-3 hours in the evening where they can sit on the couch and watch a show or hang out or play cards. I mean, not everybody's life is like that, but a lot of people work 9 to 5s. That's what they do. They have their TV time in the evening. And we don't get that as artists. We don't get our TV time in the evening. So where do we fit it? Where do we fit that relaxation moment in our day? maybe think about where you can fit that. So for me, what I've been doing is I've reorganized my day. I wake up at about 8 or 9 o'clock if I go to bed at 12 or 1. These are like my normal days. On a gig day, this is not what happens. But on a normal day, when I have a rehearsal that ends at like 10 o'clock or whatever, I get to bed by 12 or 1. I wake up at 8 or 9 o'clock in the morning. I go to the gym or get some sort of exercise. Going to the gym for me takes about 3 hours. From waking up in the morning to like being showered and ready to start my day, it's about 3 hours. I know some people takes less. That's just what works for me, and that's okay. I get home, I'm showered, I'm ready to go, start my day at about 11 o'clock. My day at 11 o'clock starts with office work. I do emails, I do editing, I do coordinating for tour booking, I do any recording I might need to do, planning lessons for my students, anything that involves, sitting at a computer for a little bit. That's what I do at around 11 o'clock. So 12 or 1, maybe 2 o'clock, I sit down and I have lunch and I take a break. I take a proper break. I rest for a couple of hours and it's lovely. I sit down and watch a show in the middle of the afternoon. I used to feel so worthless for resting in the middle of the day because all of my friends and all of my family were working in the middle of the day and I wasn't. So I was like, oh, I must be doing something wrong. I'm lazy. No, I'm just taking a break, and that is okay because my day starts later. So after I finish my break, after I feel rested, I'm chill, I'm relaxed, then I do things like I might go get groceries. I might do my laundry. I might clean the house. I might do some dishes. And then my day actually starts. My day actually starts at around between 2 and 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And that's when I start teaching my private students on the days that I teach. That's when I might practice for a rehearsal that I have coming up. That's when I start doing more recording or YouTube video shoots or editing for recordings that I'm doing for different studio projects that I'm working on. And then in the evening, I go to rehearsals, and those rehearsals don't necessarily happen every day, but a lot of the days I am in rehearsal, or I'm playing a gig downtown, or I'm getting ready for a show that's coming up, and or a tour. So that's what my evenings are spent like. And then I go to bed a little bit later. I'm a night owl, and that's okay. I'm also working on my master's degree, so I have to fit time in for working on my thesis as well. And sometimes in the evening when things are light, I have that quality time with my fiance, and we sit and we have our TV time, and that's okay too. Some times of the year are busier than others for musicians, so you have to take advantage of that quiet time when you have it. So the next thing I want to talk about is valuing your art. This is something that I think is so important. Your art matters, and if you don't feed it, it will never feed you. How will you ever be able to grow in this industry and build if you're not giving yourself the time to do it and valuing what that is? When I was a kid, my parents put me in music lessons, and as an artist and as a musician, chances are you spent a lot of time playing music. And whether that was going to lessons and being mandated to practice by your parents, or you were just really obsessed with your instrument and wanted to noodle on it all the time. And when you were a kid, you were just fooling around. You're just playing. And there's this concept of playing music. You're playing, but you're also working as an artist. And I think I got to a point this year where I was doing my contracts and I was doing my work as an artist, but I was no longer playing. But I felt like people saw me as only playing and not working. And it was this weird mental game that I was playing where people were saying, oh, Rosemary, you're so busy. And I was thinking, no, I'm not busy because I don't get paid a whole lot to do this. So it doesn't matter, but it does. And a lot of the work that I was doing was work. And I wasn't giving myself time to practice and enjoy. So now this year, part of my reset is I want to sit down and practice. I want to learn new fiddle tunes. I want to learn new techniques. I want to learn how to fingerpick on the guitar. I want to pull out old repertoire from when I was in university and work on my classical repertoire and build my skills as a classical violinist again. I want to get better at reading music. These are all things that I want to do, and I want to give myself the time to play, to actually play and make art. If you're a painter and you're only doing portraits and contracts for other people, Where are you finding the time? Where are you building that moment in your life to create something original and build as an artist and create a name for yourself? It doesn't work that way. You need to feed your art so it can feed you. The last thing I want to talk about is valuing your health. As an artist, especially as a musician, we work in an industry that thrives on burnout. We're working till 2, 3 in the morning. We're exposed to alcohol and drugs. We're eating unhealthy food when we're on the road. We're being on all the time and having to be social all the time when we're out and about. And this is a recipe for burnout. It's not sustainable to gig till 2 a.m., wake up at 6 and go to the gym. It's just not healthy. And this is why a lot of people have trouble with weight gain or weight loss or any of those issues, is because they're not getting the sleep that they need, and then they're trying to push and push and push, or they don't have the time to push and then they feel horrible about themselves, and it's just a recipe for disaster. So for me, what I'm trying to do this year is find time for my health, find time for my mental and my physical health. I live in one of the rainiest places in the world. I live on the east coast of Newfoundland, and it rains a hell of a lot. And we have a lot of issues with seasonal affectiveness disorder, which means a lack of vitamin D, which affects your happiness. And so one of the things that I've done is I have a happy lamp, I take vitamin D supplements, and one of the things now that I want to focus on is I want to get an hour of exercise every day when I can. My goal is a minimum of 4 days a week, but if I can get all the days in, I will do all the days. On the days that it's nice out, and by nice out, I mean not windy as heck and raining, I want to get outside. And my dog wants to get outside. So what better than to take your dog for an hour walk or a 2-hour walk, go somewhere and just get that fresh air and enjoy it. I live 10 minutes from the ocean, and listening to those waves are so therapeutic. It's just the best. So I want to make sure that I'm not just focusing on exercising to lose weight, exercising to gain muscle or any of those things. I want to exercise for my brain. And so going outside when it's sunny or when it's not raining is really important. Getting that vitamin D is crucial. And then on the days when it's raining, a lot of the time I'd have these big resolutions that I was going to go for a walk every day, but then it would pour rain for like 5 days in a row, and then I would never go out and I wouldn't get that exercise and I would sink emotionally. So that's where the gym comes in. I have a membership, I'm going to use it. So on the days when the weather sucks, I'm going to the gym and I'm going to get that exercise in other ways. Tintin will get a little 15-minute walk around the block instead of an hour. He's only a little dog. He doesn't need a full hour every day, but it's really nice when he can get it. But on those windy, rainy days or those snowy days, we don't need to trudge. It's not worth it. I'm going to the gym. I also want to cook or meal prep at least one meal a day. So if that's making my own supper or making a nice lunch or making a breakfast, that's what I want to focus on. I think I eat a lot of craft dinner. I eat a lot of like pre-prepared meals for lunch just because it's quick, it's easy. But at supper, I really want to lean in and have meals that are nice. And so this past night I actually made homemade pad thai, and it was amazing. And often when my partner is away and I'm by myself, I don't value homemade food as much as I do when my partner is home, because you can't share it with anyone and then you're just eating to live and you're not eating to enjoy. So I want to start making meals for myself, and I want to make sure that I'm enjoying what I'm eating and I'm eating healthy. So I went to the grocery store yesterday and I picked up salmon and I picked up a tenderloin and I picked up all the fixins to make this pad thai, and I had a beautiful meal yesterday. I have all this food set aside, ready to cook, and I'll have leftovers, which means I can set them aside and save them for another day. So I don't necessarily have to cook every day. I'm still setting myself up that if I have to rush to a rehearsal, I can reach in that freezer and grab something that's homemade and is delicious. The last thing I want to talk about with your health is listening to your body. If you're tired, rest. If you can't practice that day, it's okay. I started going to a counselor this year, and I used to complain about how much I needed to sleep. And mind you, I was in a phase of burnout and I was really needing that rest. And she said, your body doesn't really allow you to sleep solidly unless you really need it. So if you're sleeping, it's because you need it. So if you're feeling exhausted and you really need that rest, give it to yourself. Allow yourself to sleep. For a while, I was doing what I had to do. I was resting when I needed to rest. I still had my musical obligations where I was going to rehearsals and I was practicing when I needed to practice, but I had hours in the day that were free, so I was taking naps in the middle of the day, and that's okay. And I was sleeping in a little bit, and that was okay. Not sleeping in, I was just sleeping. Again, I'm just reframing and rephrasing. So that's all I really had to say today about my reset for 2023. I had this idea too that I wanted to come up with 23 goals for 2023, and I have them written out, but I figured maybe I'll do that in another video. Let me know what you think. What are your goals for 2023? What is your word for 2023? Let me know if this helped you. Let me know if there's anything else you want me to talk about in this way about being a musician, being self-employed, being in the music industry. I would love to have those conversations. I really hope that this helped you in some way today, or that you could relate to it in some way. I'll see you on Monday with our regular fiddle tutorial. If you liked this video, feel free to like and subscribe. If you have any other suggestions of what you want to hear from me and what you want from me in these videos, post them in the comments below. I do read them. I look forward to talking to you, and I hope you have a wonderful 2023. That's it for now. See you later.